Hello and welcome back to a very special episode of Level Zero Literacy. My name is Mason, and this week we are covering Silent Hill 2 with special guest John. Now, during the episode, we are going to spoil the events of the game from beginning to end, and I don't really have time enough to give you a full content warning. Just know it is everything you can think of, including but not limited to rape, bodily horror, spousal abuse, and tons more stuff. So please, please, please use your best judgment before proceeding, and enjoy.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Level Zero Literacy. My name is Buck, and I am joined as always by my favorite unreliable narrators, Sam,
Maria,
and Mason.
I can't open the fridge.
And we have a special guest today. John.
You're not Mary.
you're Maria.
Aren't you?
Oh,
Fellas, get all the jokes out now. It's gonna...
Can I address it real quick? I don't know who's familiar with the TV show Kids in the Hall, but one of the cast members of Kids in the Hall, 90s Canadian sketch comedy troupe, there's a cast member named Bruce McCullough. You can look up any monologue he's done from the show and tell me he doesn't sound exactly like James's original voice actor. As soon as I made that connection in my brain, it almost fully ripped me out of that environment.
It was so over.
100% of the jokes we do today will resolve around James Sutherland's voice acting.
Yeah.
Almost surely.
I really want to know where Eddie was able to order a pizza.
Yeah. Where did that pizza come from?
I saw a video. I was recommended a video that somebody recently made about Eddie ordering that pizza, and I wasn't going to watch it because I think it's fucking stupid. But it is interesting.
But then you were thinking,
It's quite interesting.
Where the hell did he get that pizza?
That he absolutely houses does not stop. Nor Eddie does everything in extremes. The entire time you're talking to him when you first meet him, vomiting. The second time,
Never
eating.
stopping.
Third time, shooting.
Yep.
We haven't actually said what we're talking. We're talking about Silent Hill 2 today.
Pre-roll, Mason said, we're joking right now because the tone is about to nosedive. I know pre-roll Mason just said that we're going to talk about a lot of very terrible things.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you're imagining, it's worse. This game is dark.
We're talking about Silent Hill 2, released in the fall of 2001, published by Konami, developed by Team Silent, the team that makes Silent Hill. Director was Masashi Tsuboyama. Producer Akihiro Imamura. Artist Masahiro Ito. Writer Hiroyuki Iwaku. And composer Akira Yamaoka, who you probably know from Dance Dance Revolution, obviously.
What a crazy switch up.
Themes that I kind of saw from Silent Hill 2 include grief, shame, mourning, suicidal ideation, and murderous intent.
I think you could also throw in like survivorship guilt.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could throw in guilt as a abstract general concept.
Yeah.
PTSD.
PTSD, absolutely.
So, in Silent Hill 2, you play as James Sunderland.
Sunderland.
I had to struggle to not confuse him with Walter Sullivan, a very similarly paste-named character.
Sure, it's just a coincidence.
Similarly paced.
Who has come to Silent Hill because he received a letter from his dead wife who died 3 years ago. And Silent Hill was a place where they shared a special moment together. So he has come here to see why he received a letter from his dead wife.
Can I start off with a controversial opinion, or should I wait for later?
Go ahead and start us off, because I feel like we're going to jump around a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
drop them while they're hot.
I do not understand why Pyramid Head is a gaming icon. I don't get it. After playing this game, I do not get it.
Yeah.
I find him a
it's okay.
decently menacing figure, right? But
Mhm.
I never was like struck with his character design, his model design in a particular way where I was like, oh, I understand why this is such a striking and memorable part of gaming culture.
Yeah.
Now maybe it's just meant to be like this is like the most striking thing that people think about from Silent Hill 2, which is a big cultural touchstone as a game. But the character itself, I was like, he shows up like 5 times. He's threatening, but like, I don't know. Maybe this is my Zoomer self talking. Character and creature design has come so far.
It is partially your Zoomer self talking. It's also, I think, I haven't played the other Silent Hill games. Maybe he's in them, but I relatively agree with you.
Well, I know he's in some of the newer ones, but it's always been like debated as to if that even makes sense, because the whole point of Pyramid Head in Silent Hill 2 is that he is supposed to represent the concept of like the creeping feeling of grief, right? That is like the intent of the character. But people are like, oh, they're just putting him in the new games because he's like a popular icon and not because he is this big relevant character to the plot of Silent Hill in its entirety.
I think what you were saying earlier about Silent Hill being an important game is a huge part of it. And he is an incredible work of symbolism as this giant, larger than life looming thing that's carrying this unbelievable burden on his head, right? Which it's a little bit metaphorical, but in our head is where like our grief and shame and guilt lives, right? So he personifies this thing that they're trying to communicate very well, and he makes for like a very scary villain at the parts of the games where he is around.
I mean, I also just, to push back a little bit, I can't think of many more interesting creature designs that have gotten very popular. Like, yeah, creature design has come a far way, but like, I can't think of too many like instantly recognizable creatures that are like
From
simple.
the modern era.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he like,
I don't know.
he communicates a lot with a little.
I do.
Yeah.
I do think part of it is that we've kind of grown into this culture of mascot horror, which has changed the game a little bit, which I hate, for the record. But I don't know if I necessarily agree that creature designs are not recognizable now.
I'm not saying they're not recognizable. I'm just saying I think Pyramid Head stands up to anybody.
I will say this: I was 21 when this game came out. I played like the first hour. Like when I was playing this, I told Mason that I had not played it, but I do remember playing it, maybe about an hour of it. When maybe like 2003, 2004, and the first time you see Pyramid Head and what they're doing.
Yeah.
At that time, it was like, oh my God, this is in a video game? That's horrific.
Why is that allowed?
Yeah.
So for the time period, it was. I feel like it was iconic, and I feel like that has carried on in just like kind of the lore of it, and just like you said, like from an aesthetic design, like it's instantly recognizable.
Now, I do think one thing I want to credit this game for is figuring out how to circumvent the technical limitations that were so prevalent at the time. And that's something people talk about a lot, but they actually use those limitations as an advantage to create this horror atmosphere for the game, right? The loading screens kind of take you out of it a bit, but the fog is like mostly there to cover up poor draw distances in video games at the time, but it works in the atmosphere. So you don't think about the fact that it's covering the draw distances. You just think about how it is applicable to the psyche of the characters and building the atmosphere of the town when you get there for the first time.
And like very low enemy variety, every enemy is like
there's like 6 of them, I think, total.
Yeah.
Every enemy is like very scary and very weird and off-putting and designed very well, I think.
Yeah.
Table people were my favorite designs.
Yeah, those were great, but I hated dealing with them. I absolutely
They're
hated
very
dealing
strange, but
Yeah.
I love the nurses, the look, and
nurses
just
are-
the movement, like the style, the gait they had
Yeah.
of like the twist.
I love when you meet the ones that are like crawling really fast from out of the cars.
Oh yeah, from like underneath truck. Like,
It's just like it's like such a switch up from how they by the middle of the game you're like, oh, a nurse, okay, ooh, and then like you get to that first one that's like out of the car,
skitters
and
across
you're
the
like,
floor.
oh my god, whoa, you can do that? Can they all do that?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
I don't like that.
I have never really played many classic horror games, and the specific reason why is I do not engage with video games the way you need to play classic survival horror games properly. For example, the first real place you explore is that apartment building, right? I wander around the apartment building relatively enough to figure out, that I need to find some things. I walk around, I do everything that I theoretically can do. I eventually figure that out. I trigger Pyramid Head showing up for the first time. Like you hear the shout from the guy. You walk down the hallway, you see Pyramid Head. You go into the room with the clock, and I had been in that room with the clock like 3 times, and I didn't even see the dead body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had to look up a guy, like I looked up somebody playing the game, and I'm like, oh, there's a dead body in there now. I have to go look at it. And then the same thing happened not 20 minutes later or whatever, that in the room where Pyramid Head is like fucking with the monsters and he shoots them, there's like a corner you need to walk into to see a key to pick up.
Yeah.
And I did not do that.
I on the drive over here, I equated this to a point and click adventure game with some combat. Because the game logic is fucking stupid sometimes.
It's very wild. It's very but like this was
not like I don't mean that in a derogatory sense necessarily. I mean in a this is early game design. You have to do some things you would never think a normal person would do type stuff, like tying a hair around a bent pin to pick a key out of a drain type stuff.
Well, I think that's like pretty good puzzle design. It is point and clicky, you're correct, but like that kind of thing I'm used to. It's the like
revisiting areas that you
and like
in your
making
mind
sure
you've checked
you're
off.
looking like in the nooks and crannies
and exactly where they want you to.
Yeah.
And when you get to the bottom of the well, you have to like find exactly where the door is so you can hit the brick to get the door open.
Oh my god! And I spent 5 minutes just
the
strafing.
the thing that like made me not want to explore things thoroughly, and I used a guide in points of this game too, was that the camera movement was nearly made me motion sick.
Yeah.
It's jarring.
It's not super great to experience.
I also did not know James could run until I watched that guide. I walked the whole time.
Yep,
My man.
until
And it's actually, and guess what? Running is actually relevant to one of the endings.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a secret options menu?
Yep.
Yeah, and you can turn running on by default. I found that out today. I've been playing this game for 3 weeks.
I'm gonna run my head.
Sorry,
through a wall.
Buck, but yeah, you can just have him run and then hold the square to walk.
I'm gonna run my head through a wall. Life's not fair, man. Oh my god!
I found that out. I had an hour left in the game today. I was like, well, all right.
And for that last hour, it's not useful.
You mean to
No,
tell me,
not at all, because I want to take in the atmosphere of the hotel. Anyway.
Oh, you mean to tell me all that time I was running around nighttime Silent Hill, I could have just been running?
Can I do one more silly posting thing before we get into the actual nitty gritty of this game?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wrote down a note here that says, I wish I could have kept count of how many times James should have broken his legs in this game, that piece of shit. That man has legs of steel.
He falls from great heights.
You just like you're
Many
in,
times.
he's also just
onto
like
concrete.
Onto concrete.
he also just cowabunga dudes too.
Yeah.
Like just
Oh, just hole
there
after
is
hole.
a hole. Do you want to jump in it?
Yeah,
Fuck
man,
man.
I guess. What else am I going to do?
You gave me the option to jump down the hole. Of course, I'm gonna jump down the fucking hole.
And In our group chat, I described this game as very D&D like, where the game's like, do you want to put your hands in the hand cutoff machine? Okay, yeah, I guess. Maybe I'll find something this time. Oh, you found the clock key. Why was that in there?
It's not a good hiding place.
So like
No one's gonna stick their hand there. If you're looking to hide a clock key,
You got me. You got me on that one.
the hand choppy off device is a
Yeah.
great place.
I will meme post one additional thing. I was thinking about this while playing this because I've seen a lot of Resident Evil. I haven't played a lot of Resident Evil, but I've seen a lot of like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And my comment, the reason I'm bringing this up is Resident Evil is like shonen anime.
Yeah, the tones
And-
are very different.
And Silent Hill is like an art film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
100%.
Resident Evil is just about like, ooh, there's a zombie and there's a guy with you got a big chainsaw and a sexy vampire lady. And Silent Hill's like, what if we were all meant to suffer? And grief is the main way of experience.
Death is merely the beginning.
Huh?
Because like Resident, because I find it hard to find Resident Evil like actually scary.
I don't think.
Like,
I
It's
mean,
not scary.
after
It's
like
not scary.
3,
It's not a horror game.
Yeah.
starting at Resident Evil like 3, they took a
Yeah.
long break from being scary until like 7.
Yeah.
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 So like most people don't really equate it. Most people think of those as like action games with some
Horror motifs.
yeah, with horror motifs. This game is not that at all. And the Silent Hill franchise in general is like no, it's here to make you feel unsettled and tense and afraid. And like if you immerse yourself, you're not going to be thinking yourself as powerful. If you immerse yourself, you're going to be thinking of yourself as shitty and afraid and lost.
And weak. Yeah,
weak.
like James does.
But also
Yeah.
unbothered by
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
true.
So when James walks in, the first person he meets is Angela in a cemetery, right?
Yeah.
And it's already weird that James got sent a letter from his dead wife. The weirdest thing about James to me is that it's not made obvious, but it almost feels like he's in shock the whole game because nothing bothers him. Like, it is so weird that when you're walking through that forest and you're hearing all those sounds, just walking through the forest, that he isn't commenting on anything.
Yeah.
And he's not scared of anything. And,
Okay, so I think this was a good choice because I don't know if you're walking through and then you hear the spooky noise and then James with his dumbass voice actor is like, "Oh, what is that?" Like you wouldn't get to sit with it. You would just be like, "Oh, they made it goofy." Instead, like they worked really hard on this ambiance and they make you kind of sit with it. I think it was overall, I mean, it definitely contributes to this very weird dream logic that the game kind of runs on the whole time that can be a little bit obtuse.
Yeah.
I see why you have these questions, but like I think it's a good choice in terms of the atmosphere they're trying to build. It really helps you immerse yourself that you have to sit with these weird noises. You have to like wonder what's beyond the fog. I think if he was like quipping on it the whole time and being like, "Oh, I'm scared," everyone would just think of this game as like goofy. It is goofy at points.
It is.
It's very goofy.
He meets Angela. Angela is one of the people called to Silent Hill, is in addition to James. I know some things about 1, but I don't remember 1. I don't know if the main character of 1 ever ran into any other real people when they were in Silent
They did. There's a
Hill.
police officer in Silent Hill.
Oh,
1.
yeah.
The big thing I remember about Silent Hill 1, and like this is the big cultural like thing that Silent Hill 1 contributed, is like there's a cutscene where the main character is talking with 2 other people in a bar, and then like a pterodactyl like swoops through the window and like attacks you. It's very weird. It's very strange. This game is much more serious than Silent Hill 1, if you can believe it.
It is.
But yeah,
It is.
there's always like a group of people at Silent Hill.
Okay. We don't learn much about Angela when we meet her other than she's looking for her mother and that she knows Silent Hill is weird and warns Jane's not to go.
It's good. She's good at establishing like things because she acts very off-putting. She acts like she doesn't talk like a human being would. Like she's like a grown woman and she's like, "Have you seen my mama?" And it's like, "What's this one? Like why is she talking like a baby?" And it's just like it's very good at kind of relating to you what your relationship to these NPCs is going to be. Is they're not your friends. They're not your ragtag group of friends to conquer this scary environment with. They're these ethereal, like people who are dealing with their own thing.
Yeah, people who are
nothing to do with
also
you.
heavily traumatized by whatever they've gone through. An interesting thing about this game is at the beginning there is not a lot of story to talk about.
There's not a lot of anything, like literal,
yeah.
like in a literal
I think
sense.
this is probably like one of the lowest text games we've played.
Yeah, if you were to script down all the pages, all the dialogue in the game into pages, it'd be maybe like
7 to 10.
50.
Yeah.
No, not 7 to 10. It'd be more than you think.
I'm thinking of just the voice lines. Are you thinking
Sure.
of like?
I'm
real-
also
thinking, like,
I'm
I'm
also
also
thinking
thinking,
of all
like,
the writing
stage
you
directions
can
and
find.
like
Oh, sure. Okay.
giving directive as to inflections and yada yada yada. But yeah,
And
if
The
it's
text.
just
The
dialogue,
text
it'd be
is
pretty
not
short.
much.
The main interesting, I guess, things you find like through the apartment building are some things about Silent Hill. Like when you're exploring, you find a lot of like weird situations and weird writing in places. In the apartment building, you find somebody writing about considering suicide. You also find a guy who killed 2 children and did it because of Pyramid Head.
Yep.
You don't find it here, but I'm going to bring up that Silent Hill was previously a sacred native place.
Yeah.
You find Eddie. Eddie is just... So, I have a strong volition of Eddie being a real person, but the thing about Eddie that weirds me out the most is every time you find him, he is near a human dead body,
Right.
which is so weird considering you never meet other alive humans than these specific people.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, based on sort of my theory about like what I think about Eddie's character as a whole, I think it makes a lot of sense that he's always near a dead body.
I agree.
But-
I think me and Mason might be having the same thoughts on this.
I think that I think like one of the most important things about Eddie is you're always sort of coincidentally approaching him when he's in this like very high
Vulnerable.
emotional fugue
Yep.
where he's like freaking out about something always, right? Whenever you're around. The first one, he's like vomiting out of like shock and disgust. And then you meet him and he's like freaking out because he hates Laura. And then he's like slowly deteriorating.
And
he's
stre-
also
he's stress
gorging
eating.
on food.
And he's stress eating.
He's
Yeah.
stress eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the third time you meet him, he is just surrounded by dead bodies. Just like
Yeah.
so many dead bodies.
Yeah. Of all the NPCs, I think Eddie is my favorite. I think he does a really good job at unsettling you. So he like adds to the atmosphere of the game and the tension of the game and communicates what I think he was set out to communicate really effectively. Other characters, like Laura is like creepy and like a little girl in a scary place, kind of creepy. Like, and Angela is, there's like parts of her story where I think she doesn't do great to. She doesn't. The writers didn't do a great job kind of adding to the tension. But like Eddie, I always feel like I was like sweating a little bit whenever he was around.
Yeah.
My issues with Angela are that I don't think she is a bad character. I don't think she is a poorly written character. I don't see her clicking into the narrative as much as the rest of the cast in this
Yeah.
game does.
Oh, I do. I have a very crystallized idea in my mind of what she's supposed to be. I do want to cover here while we've been through the town and we're moving through the apartment
They
building.
don't let me go in the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah,
Motherfuckers.
motherfuckers. You know me.
So
you know me. No, it's not that.
I,
You get to go
I
to
actually
Neely's.
I want to mention one in a Neely's bar. There was a hole here, it's gone now thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that phrase means.
I don't either.
But man, that was very cool to find.
I almost wonder if it was meant to be like a reference to the first time when you stick your hand through the hole and you find the key, and it's like you find that, it's like, well, maybe you missed out on something. There was something here for you to find, but it's gone now. That was like my guess, but
So once you've been into Silent Hill proper and then you go into the apartment building, it really struck me how the game has this very strict juxtaposition in its level design where you're either out in a giant wide open space with the fog all around you. So it's like you can only see within 10 feet of you and anything can be out there, and you like hear things shuffling around and your little static machine is going off. And then the other thing it does is like the exact opposite. You're in these cramped, claustrophobic hallways. You're surrounded by locked doors, and like whatever the scary thing is like right in front of you, and it's walking straight at you. Those are like real. I mean, like there, you can find shades of gray if you like really put a magnifying glass to it. But I think like those are the two main things that they tried to put in the level design, is either like anything can be out there or like you've got nowhere to go.
And it's great you mentioned that to further that point. When you're outside and everything is just so gray and vague and unknown, and then just from a level design standpoint, even at that time on PS2 graphics, you go into the apartments or like any interior building and it's desolate, it's decrepit, like you get that sensation. So I like the lack of detail when you're outside, and then like the intricate detail of when you're inside.
Oh yeah, it's like
Two different sides of the same coin.
Yeah. And like, you're outside and then you're like, how am I ever going to, you pull up your map and you're like, how in the world am I ever going to navigate this? And then you like,
then you go inside and it's a bunch of rooms. And you're like, how am I ever going to navigate this?
I do love that they just put a ton of dead ends everywhere
Yeah.
instead of forcing you to.
you don't walk down a
through
straight
everything.
line. It's like you have to go check room 201, it's locked. Room 203, it's locked. Room 205, you find a mayonnaise.
And
It will be crucial.
so in the apartment, you also experience Laura. You don't really speak to her at all.
Fucking hate Laura.
She's
such a little shithead.
oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Just
But I love her.
She's a good character.
you go to the park and you find Maria.
Yep. You think it to be Mary. You
Because
think
she
you found Mary.
Looks similar.
She looks nearly, I think she looks identical.
I mean, he says, like, even in the dialogue, he's
You
like,
could be her twin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
other than the hair and clothes, I think he says.
Yeah. She's definitely dressed very sexy, and she acts very sexy, which doesn't make any fucking sense. She should be like afraid for her life.
Which she is eventually. Eventually she is, right? Because
Yeah.
when he tries to end the conversation, she's like, wait, take me with you.
There's like monsters, you dipshit. She's so like, again, it's like this surreal, just like weird caricatures of human beings that you meet there. Like, these people are not your friends. They're like, they might be passengers on a ride with you, but like you can't trust them. They act very like in inhuman ways. And it's so tense the whole time. Normally you play a game like this and you roll up on an NPC. You play Resident Evil 4 and you roll up on the merchant guy and you're like, oh God, I can breathe. This game, like, you roll up on Maria and you're like, okay, what is this now?
Fresh hell am I about to be put through?
Exactly. This is going to be worse than the monsters.
Well, that's a good point, isn't it?
Yeah,
The humans are almost as scary, if not scarier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God,
Eddie's the scariest thing in this game.
that's true.
Oh,
He
100%.
is. Yeah. When I saw Maria, I got what she was.
Yeah.
Right? Like it immediately made sense what she was. But Eddie, it's interesting whenever you run into Eddie and Laura. I think the least human is when you see these disparate characters interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Like when Eddie and Laura are talking.
They
They-
talk past each other, kind of.
Yeah, they're not like properly talking to each other.
No, they're
It-
kind of just like making fun. Like Laura's making fun of Eddie, and Eddie's
Yeah.
like
Oh,
very.
I'm a
He's
big,
responding like
I'm a
fucking
big piece of shit.
shit.
All I can do is eat.
he responds like Don Knotts talks in the Andy Griffith show. Say, what'd you say that for?
Oh,
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah. He's like, oh, gee, why'd you say that? You know, just like these like weird, you know, like not realistic. It reinforces this dreamlike quality they all have to me.
Why'd you have to go and say that?
Yeah, yeah. Fat Tubbo. He's like, what are you doing? There's monsters. Why do you give a
Why are
shit
you
about
roasting
this
this
guy?
dude in
Yeah.
a bowling alley?
Yeah. You
Let
know,
him house a pizza, man. Like, fuck, I'd be stress eating.
Do you know what he's seen today? Untold horror.
Yeah, I have his pizza. He had to jump down 2 pits to get here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought about that while it was happening.
I've had acid sprayed on me like 3 times today.
Let me
Yeah.
eat a fucking pizza, you piece of shit kid.
I did ask myself that, like parts where like there were holes to jump down. I'm like, wait, did they also jump down?
Yeah,
these holes?
what are they?
How'd you guys get here?
A very hole-based public transportation system.
Yeah.
You know, something else I wrote down in my notes is I really liked how when Maria was tagging along with you, right? The part of the game where she is actually like in your party in quotes. Whenever you walk into a room, it's not as if she follows you in. She is just already in the room, kind of standing
They
in a
put
corner.
her out of the way.
Yeah.
But I liked it from a perspective of her being a concept and not a person, because there's something eerie about the fact that when you walk into the room, she is just there.
Yeah, especially when like there's a monster there and she's like past the monster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
To me, like, I barely thought about it because it's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, they just like spawned her in the room and
no, I thought about it. I thought about it every time it
But-
came up. I was like, huh? Because like the more it happened, the more I was like, oh, she doesn't follow me into the room. She's
Yeah.
just already positioned in the room. And I guess from a design perspective, they probably did do that for a specific reason. But it actually works to me in favor of what Maria is supposed to represent, which is just like an idol, essentially.
I didn't put that much thought into it, but it makes sense. I mean, they could have easily just had her follow you. There
And
are
that's the
games
thing,
in
right?
this period that did that.
That is the thing, is that is one of those things where they took the restrictions that were put onto them technologically and they actually did something interesting with it.
You end up in the hospital.
oh yeah,
One of my favorite sections.
Oh
honestly.
yeah, the hospital is super cool. You get to see some more weird Silent Hill shenanigans with how people are being treated and how people are reacting to that treatment. I'm pretty sure this is the first time you enter the nightmare version of the world,
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's correct.
because after Pyramid Head knocks you off the roof, you get another suicidal ideation thing here. With it, on the roof, you find that diary, the person who's writing about their treatment, and James literally looks at it and he's like, "Huh? Why would this diary be on the roof?"
I didn't even make the connection that it was like oh yeah, James finds it and then James falls off the roof. Like it didn't even like click in my head. Like here comes James's grief
Yeah.
chasing him off the edge of the roof. Like I didn't even register that on my playthrough. That's actually really good.
When you are in the hospital and exploring it, Maria gets sick. I'm pretty sure everyone except for Laura gets sick. Well, no, Angela, you also don't really... No, Angela coughs, doesn't she? Or no?
Yes, she does.
She's
Yeah.
coughing here.
She's also on fire at one point, so I would consider that a type of illness.
Yeah.
But
Oh, you've got arson.
one of the like things that you see with everyone but James is that being in Silent Hill makes them sick.
Yeah.
And with Maria, especially since she seems like the least likely to be an existing thing to me, it makes it really weird that she is sick. But I mean, it also makes sense because she's Mary. So
she's just faking it, right?
possibly,
She's not,
yeah.
I don't think she's actually sick. It's
Yeah.
more of like you need to. The male ideation of a woman is that she is someone that needs to be cared for and protected. And so I am sick because James, I want you to care about me as a person.
I interpreted it a bit differently. I interpreted it as her as like with full knowledge of like the events of the game as her like this is just like one of her types of torment
Sure.
of James where she's like we know her in the full over the full narrative of the game, she reveals herself to be this like evil succubus or like demon that embodies his shame. And this is just like one of the ways, just like, I'm going to make you look at your sick, dying wife in the hospital again. Like, just like as a form of torture to him.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that.
Because it's like kind of a running thing with her is like you kind of, James like watches her die over and over and over.
Because she totally
like 3 times.
She totally gaslights him.
And gaslights him
when he
much.
Finds her in the prison. Because
Very funny.
Yeah. She can't help me from over there.
She has the 3 Gs.
Yeah, true. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, baby.
Literal gatekeeping. Literally.
There's a gate between you.
And she's the boss. The final boss. That's a girl boss right there.
Also, in the Nightmare Hospital, Laura tries to murder you. That's fun.
Oh, yeah. When she locks you in the room? Yeah.
Locks you in the room with one of the few bosses in the game. The Cage Boys, which are similar. So I don't know if you saw that pyramid head painting with the caged people in them.
Yep. It's those, right?
It's those things. I'm like, oh, God. You had to bring it to life, didn't you?
I like that they took like pains to go they went to these links to like embody these horrors after showing you. It's not just like look at this spooky painting, it's like no, experience it. Fuck, man. I don't want to. They're scary. I will say the hospital is where the puzzle solving it's started to like the meter started to move into like fucking
esoteric.
Really stupid area. We're not in the sealed aluminum can of light bulbs yet. But we're like close in the hospital. But just like I was starting to like roll my eyes at things in the hospital. I didn't like the puzzle solving in this game so much. I'm not like a big point and click. I'm not a big mist guy.
Yeah, it's. I am also not. So I agree.
I am. So I had a blast.
Oh, you ate it up, huh?
I'm gonna say this stuff, like, I don't know if either Mason or Sam, y'all have actually, like, have you actually played Myst or have you played like Space Quest?
Point and click games are like, that's before my time.
Yeah.
Really? So
I find this puzzle solving way more intuitive.
Fair enough.
Because the can opener was right under the videotape.
it's funny because like
it's not that. It's just that like why the fuck is there a sealed aluminum can of light bulbs?
Because it's a psychological horror.
I know that, but like I'm not scared. You like open up a can and it's light bulbs. Oh my god, no! I wanted beans.
For me, it's like it's weird because some of it is so ham-fisted. It's like, ooh, this string of 6 numbers. It's like, okay, that's the combination for the combination thing I'm looking for. And sometimes it's like, okay, I have a horseshoe and wax. What could this possibly mean?
Yeah.
The horseshoe wax thing was a fucked up puzzle.
Who would ever think of this? Who would ever think of this? Who would ever think of this?
At the end of the hospital, after you manage to not die after everything, including the other things they're supposed to help you, try to kill you, Maria dies.
Great.
I'm doing finger quotes right now, listeners. This was the scariest part of the game to me.
With the first time she dies?
No. Like you start walking down that
twisty hallway,
where
and then
Pyramid
Pyramid
Head's
Head's
hallway,
like
sure.
fucking.
Yeah.
He's just suddenly like booking it at you. Like,
Yeah.
So you know what?
I've never seen him move like that.
So you know what? You know when that's not scary, when you just know how to run already.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fair.
oh,
After you fight Pyramid Head the first time in the apartment building, and it's like basically just a slow case of how slow and shitty he is, which is fine because you're in a itty bitty little room, so
Yeah.
it's it doesn't. But then like you're in the hallway and he's just like fucking running at you. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah, not lumbering, running.
like he could do that. Why didn't he do that in the little room? That was horrifying.
Well, that's a different Pyramid Head.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously.
I didn't know there were multiple of them at that point.
Some of them are just more athletic.
That's true.
so after this is it's the society arc, right?
Oh, the Historical Society?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
The exposition building.
I don't remember a lot of specific things about going to the society. Like, I remember seeing the place and going there and getting you get the letter in the wrench.
Yep.
Is that where you
Or no,
find out
that sends you to get the letter.
that sends you to
wrench.
get the letter in the wrench, right? And you're effectively just kind of walking around. Is it still nighttime Silent Hill? Or is
Yes. Once
yeah.
you leave the hospital, you're in nighttime
Yeah.
Silent Hill.
My favorite things about like the James text personality is like, even though you actively picked up a can of juice to get the weird bag down out of the garbage chute in the apartment building, the next time you see cans of stuff, he's like, oh, I don't actually need these cans.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I already used the can that had.
I
puzzles.
solved the can
Puzzle.
I solved.
I solved that puzzle.
I solved the can puzzle.
This is clearly a red herring. I'm not gonna use this.
Old James Sunderland won't be fooled, except by everything else.
Yeah.
Anyways, time to go to jail.
Like, why after he did that would he be giving a fuck about the fucking expiration date on the fruits?
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. You do that, and then he's like, these fruits are expired. Unlike that very useful juice, which was in date.
That life-giving juice.
Like, what do you care?
So
You're two
let's
holes
go to the
before.
prison. Let's go to jail.
Yeah. Hey, fuck this place.
Oh,
Normally, I think the ambient sounds in this game are good, but I personally spent a lot of time in that room with the locked cells with that dude going like,
yeah.
what
That
Oh,
weird
oh.
demon voice.
yeah.
Oh man.
was the point of that? To annoy the
Scary.
shit out of me?
Because-
no,
Scare the
Scary.
shit out of you.
no,
Spooky.
that was
Yeah.
not scary. That was
I found it scary.
annoying.
if you turn off your radio in there's no static. Whatever that voice is not a weird Silent Hill demon.
Not a monster.
Yeah.
Also, holy shit, they dial it up to 11 in the prison.
Yeah.
Mazes, I understand the merit of mazes, and they auto-mapped the maze for you. So, thank God, we're not like Phantasy Star 1ing here.
Also,
But
very funny, like me when I was a child, a maze with a minotaur in it, that's stupid and not scary at all. Me at 31 experiencing a maze with a minotaur in it. Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh god, there's a minotaur.
read the book House of Leaves. That'll change your mind.
Yeah. Like, okay, I get what's scary about a maze with a minotaur in it now. You've proved it to me.
the prison is where the criminal puzzle is. Is that before you jump in the graves? Because I want to spend
That's
time...
before.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You solve it and then you open the door and there's a graveyard in
That's
there.
where the
And
graves
it's
are.
like,
Right.
what the
Okay.
fuck? That's a cool puzzle. That's one of the few shining examples of a good puzzle in this game is the hanging man.
The hangman puzzle, you have two separate rooms. One has a series of, I guess, straw or like burlap men hanging from nooses, and each one has a sign where the face should be, and the sign has a little poem, a little missive about who that person was and the crime for which they were hanged. In the second room, you have the nooses without the bodies in them, and you are you are asked to choose to pull the noose of the innocent person based on the stories that you read on each of the dolls or burlap men.
It's pretty basic, but I just liked how the symbology of like all these crimes having equal punishment
Yep.
of just
Yep.
the death penalty.
Yeah.
Revenge,
And-
and what was it? It
Revenge
was
and
justice and
justice.
revenge.
Has been served.
Which is funny because it's it's like meant to illustrate like, oh yeah, the revenge is why they're dead. That's what I interpreted it as. If it were justice, the person who did kidnapping and the person who did murder and they would all or like the person who swindled would be maybe handled a little bit differently, but they were serving revenge as well. So we got to kill these guys.
The joke of the puzzle is you read a poem that describes the people's crimes, and you find out the person who was hanged for arson was just a stranger in a town who a cop pinned the crime on.
Yes, which it's immersive because it's like, oh, I'm a stranger in this town
Yep.
and I'm in the prison right now. Uh-oh.
Hey.
Gang.
And there's like so many layers to this because it's like, you have how we perceive crime, how crime is perceived to be, like how some people consider crime should be punished. We have how the justice system sometimes selects people as a sacrificial lamb. And you have the absurdity of the government being able to kill you.
Yes.
This is like the rare Silent Hill puzzle W, where like
There's actual storytelling in
Yeah.
the puzzle.
and
Yeah.
it's like
Well-
very poignant.
Well, just mentioning that, like, these people are being punished. Like someone is being served as a sacrificial lamb. Ask yourself why. And I would say with pretty confident certainty, you are looking to appease the masses. It's it reminds me of I hate to use religious allegory, but like Jesus's trial, when the senator asks, like, who would you rather see punished for their crime, and the crowd selects somebody, so then you have to wonder like how sick this town was.
Right.
Probably didn't help that they were all being haunted by a big red demon with a pyramid on his head. But,
Yeah, they
they might have.
call him
influenced
Pyramid
things.
Head, but that guy's name's actually Revenge. He's the one they were talking about in the poem.
Hey, me popping back in here for the mid-roll ad, reminding you to sit down, get some water, maybe touch some grass, get some fresh air, do whatever you need to do because I know this is a heavy one. While I've got you, I'd like to remind you to engage with us on all of our social media platforms. We would love if you could give us a like, a comment, a 5-star review, or a subscription. I'll throw you back. Thanks.
Something I was thinking about while playing this is Silent Hill takes a lot. It doesn't take a lot, but it conceptually reminds me of It a lot. Have y'all read It?
So
Because like the movie kind of gives you a sense of what it is and how it works, but the book does a much better job.
So
Absolutely.
as I understand, it is not about a scary clown, but it's about cycles of abuse, right?
Well,
It's about how like older people perpetuate cycles of abuse onto younger people.
I mean that is a true statement, but there is like an actual psychological horror that cyclically devours children.
Okay. Yeah, I mean like
Every-
that's
It's like an eldritch type horror.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm saying is like that's what it is meant to represent, right? Is like that's like the sort of greater metaphor of it. I get that in universe it is like there's a real spooky clown that's really killing kids, but the book is about cycles of abuse, right? Or am I off base on that?
No, I'd call that accurate.
And like the book also just kind of like kind of explicitly calls that out because adults cannot perceive it.
Yeah.
They can't perceive the effects of it, and it. We shouldn't spoil it in our podcast about Silent
No, we
Hill.
should.
I think there's just
That shit's been out 50 years. You
Yeah, that
can't
book is
spoil
old. That book is really old.
You can't spoil the
But-
Bible. You can't spoil it.
Oh yeah, if you haven't read the Bible, sorry about those Jesus spoilers.
Our bad.
But
Give away the ending, John.
but Pyramid Head is a very like the way Head is portrayed in this game is very similar to how
It
it works.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Or Tim Curry,
Or Tim Curry.
depending on your
Whatever your
depending on your
preference is.
generation.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. Like it feeds off of that,
Yeah.
like trauma, that grief, that shame, you know. And like anytime you're, you know, like you said in the game, it's like when you're dealing with that the most, like even to the point where like at the end of the prison, you have to fight not one but two of them, as once again Maria, out of reach, is murdered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go to the hotel, which
Over a lake.
yeah,
Over a
so,
lake.
So you have to row a boat and follow a light properly.
Great Gatsby style.
Or just a lighthouse.
No.
Which I mean,
No.
she's technically the lighthouse in so you know.
Exactly.
Buck knew exactly what Sam was talking about.
You're so stupid, Sam. God damn it.
But I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
So you row the boat over over to where Mary lives in the mansion far away. And you God.
I hate you. I hate you.
Sam is looking so
He's so smug.
right
He's
now.
so smug.
So, you know, you get music boxes, so you get to hear creepy music. There's not a lot of enemies here, which I like for a final level after you kill two pyramid heads. Well, you don't kill two pyramid heads. They
You don't.
They-
You don't.
they
really
You
have
bully
to-
them. You bully
You
them
bully
into
them
killing
i-
themselves.
The big secret of this game is the pyramid heads. You don't really have to shoot or anything. Most people don't know this on first playthrough, but if you just like relax and just dodge, they will eventually handle themselves. They don't have a damage meter or anything. Very weird.
So you run into
Laura.
Laura again, and you know you talk to Laura more, and you know Laura is useful for challenging James's perception of reality the most. I think, you know,
Yeah.
like
She keeps them in check.
yeah, and so you work through this hotel. Your primary thing you're trying to do is find this videotape / also get to room 312, which is where you stayed when you stayed here with Mary. You do a bunch of puzzles that I don't think we need to describe to do all of this.
Dumbass light bulb can. stupid ass can full of light bulb.
The game also does the most survival horror thing ever, where you have to put all your shit in a locker
Yeah,
Yeah.
and walk around with nothing.
and walk around with nothing.
I swear, I got on the elevator and I was like, it says the weight limit's one man, and I was just like a Metal Gear thing. Are there 4 gene soldiers with stealth
I was
camouflage on
like,
the?
is there a corpse on top of the?
Yeah.
Is there a corpse on
Oh
top
no,
of the
you mean
elevator?
literally? I must be only a man. Okay, that's cool too, I guess. I really like the idea of 4. You know,
I'm glad clothes are factored into the weight of a man.
yeah, that's true.
A man can't walk around naked. Modesty, people.
Modest,
I-
modest man.
I was like, I can hold one weapon, right? James isn't like a big guy.
No,
What?
well, at that point, you have Pyramid Head's great knife alone. And
Yeah.
I pulled it out to use it once, and I was like, I'm not dealing with this. And immediately unequipped it and never used it.
I
So funny.
I am a Monster Hunter Greatsword Bane. I am not going to.
I tried to kill one of the pyramid heads in the labyrinth with that thing.
No,
He was not having it.
nothing doing it.
He was not. He simply took one small step back and then poked me with a spear.
Yeah,
Fuck! Ow. Okay. Okay, man. I get it. I'll do the gun.
That's upsetting because swords beat spheres.
Well, maybe in Fire Emblem terms, not in the fucking sadness pit. I tell you that.
sad.
Down there, spears reign supreme. I promise you.
And when you watch the videotape, first off, I love how they always alluded to the videotape as like it was a sex tape at
Yeah.
every point until you actually watched it, and then it was just Mary talking, and then also the reveal of James murdered Mary.
Oh my god. This is like one of the coolest. Lots of games do plot twists nowadays. It's almost expected this day and age that if you make a big game like this, especially in horror, that you're going to have like a crazy plot twist. This one is it's very classy, it's very subtle, and it's like very in line with what James has been going through, what these other NPCs have primed you to think about the game and about the setting. It's so nice. I can't speak to how good they executed. Almost as well as James executed Mary. Jesus.
God.
And I also like that, like, after he's forced to come to terms with it, he just is like, he sits there and he's just like inconsolable. And then Laura's around like, hey man, you got to get up and do stuff. And he's just like not responding to her.
He's like, well, he's also like, no, I killed Mary.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, wow, I hate you.
You're
Yeah.
a monster.
Liar. Yeah, like
You
he's
liar.
he's great which also is a reason why I think she's real.
Again, put a pin in it. Not to spoil the Bible or anything.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna love what I
Not
have
trying
to
to
say.
spoil the Bible.
But
I want to make that an idiom.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, hey,
Instead of don't shoot the messenger, hey, not spoiling the Bible.
you want to go in on this? You want to go in on this?
Yeah, shake.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in.
Not to spoil the Bible or anything. From there, it's sort of a quick trip to the Maria fight,
Relatively.
which, by the way, oof.
So there is one ending. I don't know. I can't remember which one it is, but one of the 3 endings you can get on your first playthrough, Maria isn't revealed to be Maria. Like, it's not revealed that it's not even not revealed that she's Maria. She's more like a Mary.
The Maria ending.
Yeah, the Maria
Yeah.
ending. I just
You
know
all got the
about it.
same one. I'm the only one that got the water ending.
You
Probably-
get the
I-
water ending if you take a lot of damage and
I
get
did.
hurt a lot and don't heal yourself.
And you looked at the knife probably one too many times.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That was-
I
that's a big
definitely
part
was
of
like,
it.
I was very examine pilled. I was looking at shit, and also I didn't like Maria, so I thought it was very funny when she got attacked, and I probably took all the damage required to get that ending in the fucking labyrinth.
I would say, actually, to be fair, letting Maria get damaged is actually good for getting the leave ending.
Yeah, which
interesting.
I much prefer the leave ending than the Maria ending.
The leave ending is the best ending.
That's the bow.
that you can get.
It's
Yeah,
and it's still fucking sad.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. I cried still, even though I got the leave ending.
Oh, I got choked up.
You get the same letter every time, right?
You do.
Okay.
You get the full because it's just you get the full context.
Okay.
And while the
Alright.
letter is playing what is happening
In
in
the
In
the
the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like yours is him killing himself.
Yes. He got in a boat with Maria's dead body and then like drowned himself, and then you see the boat floating on the water with no one in
And
it.
also,
Jesus.
I love that the reveal. I love the reveal of the letter in the ending is he just didn't read.
You
the
didn't
whole
read the whole
letter.
letter. You
Yep.
stupid moron.
Stupid man. You dumb, stupid man.
Why not read the whole thing?
Oh, I got the gist of it in the
It's
first
because of the grief. Obviously, he
couldn't
he-
bear to read her words.
He probably read
wanted
the
to
first.
he wanted to believe what he wanted to believe, right? That's kind of the
Yeah,
point.
he probably read the first page and he was like, "Mary,
You're not Mary.
is this
You're Maria.
from Mary?"
But you've
How
been dead
could
for
I-
3 years.
No, it can't be.
The Japanese voice acting for him is probably pretty good. I bet.
Well, I looked it up in because I was looking at the HD remake that they released in like 2000,
9,
2000, yeah,
somewhere in
so
that
late
range.
late
Late
2000s, yeah, late aughts, and like it had a list like the cast of characters, and it had like the original like PS2 version, and then I saw like Troy Baker did James's voice in the HD remake for the PS3, and I was like, that's a pretty good get.
Probably,
That's pretty crazy.
I would like to hear that.
probably an upgrade. Probably an upgrade. And I feel like simply text based would be an upgrade over the voice acting we got.
Well, yeah, and like it's funny because this game came out in 2001, and we've talked about like the voice acting in like the Metal Gear games.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm surprised that a game this big budget and also made by Konami
Couldn't
ended up-
afford a good voice actor
Yeah.
for their main character.
They didn't get good performances when all the Metal Gear games had
Yeah.
pretty
And
good
I mean,
Now,
performances.
to be fair, all the other characters in this game give good performances.
It's just
It's
that's-
just James.
It's the end of the game. It's Mary reading the letter that when I said on the drive over here that I thought Mary's voice actor was the best.
Oh yeah,
and it's her
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
that
yeah.
letter.
Her
that is
reading
just
that
so
letter,
full of pathos.
and she actually acts.
oh
yeah.
yeah.
like you hear her getting choked up. It's like, oh man, it's so good.
Okay. One thing I want to touch on before everyone starts laying out their theories. I really love the design of Angela. I called it her torture room, Angela's torture room with the pistons.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was like, that was like,
incredible.
I was like, man, that's fucked up.
They snapped on that one.
But that's like a really smart way to not shove it in the player's face, but
Right.
like
Yeah.
force them to kind of picture and visualize what's going on in her head all the time.
And I mean, when you go in there, she's yelling, "Daddy, no!"
yeah,
yeah,
And it's
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
whole scene,
oh
that,
man,
to me,
skin crawling.
if we're talking about one moments for me, that scene for me was my one moment because that was like the hardest hitting moment in this game for me and it was because it was a whole package. I feel like a lot of times in this game I was sort of missing bits and pieces from scenes to have like their full weights, but that was the scene where I felt like I had the whole package. The voice acting was good because it was mostly coming from Angela. The visual design and the sound design of the room was really good. The design, like the creature design of like the table monster was like really interesting. I thought that was like, I was like, this is like, when people talk about Silent Hill 2, I kind of missed it for some parts of the game, but this is one spot where I was like, I really, really get what people see in this game.
While we're here, let's just do moments, right?
That was my one moment.
So mine is short and not like super impactful, I think, and I'm gonna need to remember exactly what it said, but like in terms of like this being like a fucked up psychological horror game, if you go back into the bar in Night Silent Hill, written on the wall is like, if you actually wanted to be with Mary again, you would die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
It fucking rules.
That's right near where there used to be a hole
There
here.
used to
but
be
now
a
it's
hole,
gone.
Now it's
but now it's
gone.
gone. Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
It's not wrong. Another point for me in Mason's theory.
My moment was also an Angela moment, and it's at the end
When she's on fire.
when she's on fire. You're in the staircase of the hotel. Everything is up in flames. She is standing in the middle of it, and she is explaining to James. It's at the end of their conversation where she starts to walk away, and James says, "It's hotter than hell in here." She turns and says, "Oh, you see it too?"
Yeah.
It's like this for me all the time, and then walks away. Holy shit.
Yeah. The character of Angela is so good. And that's like such an incredible send off for her.
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
she like walks up the stairs
further into the fire.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
And this is like during the other thing that's happening during this time is the hotel is flooded, right? Or like dripping water at least.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's in the nighttime. Yeah, that's in the nighttime.
I thought that juxtaposition was also interesting. I don't think it adds a lot to exactly what's going on, but like it shows, I think, like, in my opinion, the different things Angela and James are experiencing because they're different real people.
You're gonna fight? We gonna fight? We gonna fight about this?
I'm just saying
drag the
there's,
boxing ring
there's
back
3
out.
grave holes there, man.
All right.
There's 3 grave holes there.
And one of them's yours.
Yeah, one of them's yours, but then there's 2 other people.
So my one moment, I talked about it before. I kind of spoiled the Bible on that one, but the long hallway scene with Pyramid Head just bolting after you, it illustrated like It illustrated how scary a game that does not rely on jump scares, but only building up tension and breaking tension can be. And every time you see Pyramid Head, it's deeply unsettling in a lot of ways, but not a lot of times do you see him where he represents like a real lethal threat to you. And then, you just have to like run and pray. And then, Maria's hand reaching through the elevator door as she screams for you. And James is just completely powerless to open the elevator door. He's like, he's pleading with an elevator door, like, please open up, open up, open up. And then her blood splatters all over you. Just like, and they reached like nirvana when they were constructing that scene, that sequence of events. It's laid out so perfectly. It encapsulates everything actually scary about this game super well in my mind.
So we're gonna get into theories now. I want to hear the thing that I did not reach first. So let's hear the no one is real but James.
So that's my theory.
I'm with you. I'm mostly with Mason on this.
You're with me on everyone except Laura. Is that right?
No, I think Laura is like the fakest one of all of them.
Okay. So the events of the game are this large, multifaceted emotional knot that James is trying to untangle. I think all of these NPCs are reflections of what has happened from a slightly different angle. I think Eddie represents James's fear that he has fallen into sort of his base desires. I think he represents someone who is gluttonous and wrathful and out for revenge. I think that represents James's fear that is what he has become in murdering Mary. I think Angela...
Hold on. And also the dialogue he has after killing Eddie, where he's like, he's in disbelief of the fact that he killed a human being.
Yeah, he's
right?
like, oh no, I've killed a human being. And then he says, like, just because people call you names, you can't kill people, Eddie.
Right.
It's like, there's like this belief on James's part that he's different than Eddie, that Eddie is like something worse than him. I think Angela represents this compassion and love that he still had for Mary. She is a vulnerable woman who was betrayed by a man caretaker during her lifetime who continuously suffers for it. I think that is a mirror of what Mary went through. I think that Maria is I think
The
everyone
most
would agree with
obvious
this.
one.
The super obvious one. It represents like this idealized version of Mary that James wanted and feels guilty about because this idea of Mary is the reason why he killed her, because she was like this terminally ill person that was causing a lot of grief and being a huge burden. And like what, he says when he talks to Maria at the end of the game, he's like, I killed you even though you wanted to live because I just wanted my life back. So Maria is this like person who is like the wife he would have if his life was normal. Finally, I think Laura represents his fear of other people finding out what he's done. She's part of his guilt, but she is not his guilt personified. That's Pyramid Head, because Pyramid Head kind of creeps up on you and comes at you when you're not expecting it and then washes over you in waves. Laura represents like this person who knows something, that learns about what James has done and proceeds to hate him for it. I think she is his fear of other people finding out what he did. That's kind of my grand theory of everything in this game.
And so one of my all-time favorite pieces of media is BoJack Horseman. I think it is quite possibly one of the best, if not the best TV show to ever be made. And spoilers if you haven't seen it or if you're currently watching it. I know Mason's never said he's never going to watch it because it's too sad. The penultimate episode of the show is called The View from Halfway Down. And the concept of the episode is BoJack is currently in the middle of drowning, and his brain is processing the concept that he is dying. And I really drew a lot of parallels between that episode and the way that this game plays out, because the characters are all very stilted versions and drained and simplified versions of how James perceived these people, or how he like personified someone to encapsulate something that he is feeling, so that he can begin to come to terms with how he is feeling about things. And your ability as a player to help James navigate the things that he is feeling determines whether or not he believes he is worth staying alive for, or staying mentally sane for, or whatever, right? Because the three endings, to me, the leave ending is James is able to like come to terms with the things that he has done and move on with his life. He's not a better or changed person from it, but he is at least going to be able to move on. The Maria ending is him like descending into madness, like, and just like tricking himself into believing that he lives in some alternate reality where like everything is okay and everything worked out. And then obviously the water ending is just he can't cope with it, and so he kills himself, right? So to me, this game is all about James fixating this scenario in his mind so that he can sort out whether it is even worth him continuing to live anymore. It's Silent, this is his memory of Silent Hill. The reason why everything's so foggy and confusing is because he didn't go to these places as much when he visited for the first time. Their experience was at the hotel, and that's why that's the place he has the clearest vision of. Everything else is just a very stereotypical version of what that thing is supposed to be and how it's supposed to be laid out, right? So that's kind of how I felt about this game after I finished it, was because I was like, oh, this reminded me so much of this other piece of media, and I can kind of draw the lines as to like where this is not, none of this was a real experience of his, but merely a means to an end of figuring out what he wants to do.
Are we to believe that you both are in more of these people are other people visiting Silent Hill type of camp?
I could be convinced of it more if there weren't 3 grave holes.
Okay.
If Laura wasn't always completely safe because she wasn't actually called there.
Okay.
She went because she remembered her friend saying those things. And if the experiences with like Eddie and Angela were slightly different, I totally agree with the this could be a dream thing, but I think my brain connection to this being like it makes me think more that this was like a real thing, that this happened and Angela and Eddie were casualties of the demon thing or place that Silent Hill is. Where Silent Hill is I think, I can't defend the reading because I think what y'all are saying totally makes sense. But also, because of the graves and because of like how things are portrayed at like in the leave ending, I think Angela, Eddie obviously dies. Angela probably loses herself to Silent Hill 2, and Laura gets out because she was never in danger in the first place, if the leave ending is the ending that you get.
The other reason I struggle to believe that Laura is real, and maybe she's just lying and she's a shitty little kid, is because that scene where she's like, I just turned 8 a week ago. Well, she was 8 when Mary died, so how would she still be 8 years old if that was the case? Now, she could just be lying, but she does very much act in line with how I would expect an 8-year-old to act. The differences like between an 8 and 11-year-old are pretty significant behaviorally.
That's true.
So that was the other thing for me. I was like, oh, this like just can't be real. And I don't want to bring in the dream logic of like, oh, light bulbs in a can doesn't make any sense, so it must be a dream, because like that's just
cheating.
In my it analogy, like the Silent Hill is able to make itself whatever it wants to be.
Sure.
Right, but
that was just the big selling point
Yeah.
to me at the ending was when Laura was like, I just turned 8 a week ago.
If we're assuming that Silent Hill is a real place and these are real people, and it's not like metatextual to say that James is processing what happened. It's not out of the realm of reality to think that just a week has passed since he killed Mary, and that he just thinks
That's
it's
what I
been
was thinking.
3 years because he's just like deluding himself.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of the ending is about him coming to terms with the fact that he's been deluding himself.
Sure.
So it's not out. I mean, they don't state it in the text of the game, but it's not out of the realm of. It's not beyond the pale to think that, maybe he's just lying to himself and saying it's been 3 years, and really it's been a week.
Maybe because the thing that would line up with that is like, why would he have gotten this letter 3 years later when she told the nurse to deliver it to him after he died?
Yeah.
So like that's the other thing, right? But
Makes more sense that he got it a week later.
Unreliable narrator, hard to tell, hard to say. So
What's your read, John?
Here's my read. I think I hesitate to say both things can be true, but I do think that the NPCs are real. I also think that they also obviously carry their own narrative theme, each one. And what I got out of each one, what I saw with Eddie, and I enjoyed Eddie as an NPC because of his development throughout the game. The first time you see him, like we mentioned, he is vomiting sick from shock, seeing a dead body. And, just pleading with James, hey, I didn't do this. This wasn't me. He was like that when I got here. I swear. I don't know what's going on. The next time you see him, he's with Laura at the bowling alley, and he is scarfing down food. And Laura is teasing him, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm this piece of shit. I think that's the first time he mentions the dog. And then when you confront him, I believe it's the third and final time. That is when basically what I got out of Eddie's character was that with the shock of doing something so horrific and, it could potentially get easier, because by the last time you meet Eddie, he's like, oh yeah, killing somebody was real easy, and it's getting easier, to the point where you have to fight Eddie because Eddie's trying to kill you.
Right.
Angela, I see as the person that never fully, she represents PTSD for me. She has never fully processed or healed from the trauma that she has experienced as a child. So when you first meet her in the graveyard, that she's very confused and almost disoriented. She's looking for her mother. Mason, you alluded to it. She does refer to her as her mama. So that to me represents that inner child or that inability to be healed from something so traumatic, like what Angela experienced or what James did, because that's something traumatic, like taking your wife's life. Geez. Laura, to me, again, there was a reference to a secret getting out, but I think she also represents the way she teases James and yells at him about how you took my friend away. I think that is also representative of maybe a part of James's inner monologue of how could you do that? You loved her. He's back there to find her. So that's her being oh, you took her away. I hate you. I'm so mad at you. I feel like that is also James's kind of 3 different inner monologues.
I could see that.
And, I also, with Eddie specifically, I was trying to figure out if Eddie was, especially during the scene with Eddie and Laura, I was trying to figure out if Eddie is James's insecurities and the things James doesn't like about himself.
yeah, that's kind of what it. So as I was playing through, I was started to take notes on the theories of what I think each character is meant to represent. I stopped doing it eventually because I was I just couldn't think of a good metaphor for everyone.
Yeah.
But Eddie I always pen as oh, this is meant to be like the psychotic carnal desires, kind of as Mason was saying, of James, right? So
and yeah, so it's I could probably just buy into the it's not a real thing.
I mean, hell, we could even merge these theories, right?
Yeah,
we could even say that Silent Hill brings people to it that reflect off of each other.
Yeah, this is that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is it brought these things that would do that together. Yeah.
I do have one additional theory, and this has to do with the conversation he has at the end of the game, where he mentions his hate and contempt for what I naturally read as like the pain and suffering that James surreptitiously went through by virtue of his wife being so sick and in the hospital. And my big theory is this: what he initially thought he was doing was setting her free, like a mercy
Yeah.
kill. And
Yeah.
it's when he finally says, "I just hated you so much and I wanted my life back." That is when it finally clicks for him, and that is when you're finally able to, like, quote unquote, leave.
I mean, he used her words against her, right? Like, she was literally like, I want to die. They're just milking me for money. So that was, that's going to be the thing that sticks with him. That's going to be the words he repeats in his head, and not the, I'm sorry, James, I didn't mean it. I actually want to live.
So in your reading, when James says, "I killed you because I hated you," that's like him realizing for the first time that he killed her for him, not for her.
Not for her.
It's
Okay.
a light bulb moment.
Light bulb in
in
an
a
aluminum can moment.
He had to open the can to let the light bulbs out.
We've got two A+ idioms.
I also want to say with this, so like, I hate to use the word tasteful, but I think this game, like, just horror wise in general, is so tastefully written and portrayed, because like it talks about so much horrible and shows so much horrible, awful shit, but it doesn't ever feel to me like exploitative or bad or not like artistic.
It's because they're never overt about anything.
Yeah.
Angela never straight up tells you that she was sexually assaulted. She acts in the way that sexual assault survivors do sometimes, and she, through her PTSD, relives those moments from her life. Eddie's psychotic episodes only work because the people around him are already corpses,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't work if they were like freshly dead.
Yeah. It's like, we have a lot of I don't think tasteful is a bad word for it, because we have a lot of examples, especially nowadays with the way horror has developed in the video game space, of very tasteless writing, where it's like, oh yeah, this is a mascot horror game about how a bunch of children were murdered.
Yeah.
Now their ghosts haunt Freddy Fazbear. It's like,
Oh,
yeah, it's like, I don't, there's a lot less subtle, a lot more ham-handed ways to approach these subjects. This one did it in a way that made you think, and that was not, it felt to me, not presenting these themes for shock value, but to actually like create like some sort of substantive thought on the types of things that it reflected on. There are very good ways to approach these usually very taboo themes.
right. Okay, how about this? Let me pitch you instead of tasteful. Oh, I just lost the word.
Good.
Good. Yeah. That's it.
Good.
Good job. Good job, writers of Silent Hill 2.
Thoughtful. Thoughtful is the word.
Yeah. That's a good word for it.
Because it's like the reality of the situation is James killed his wife, right?
Yes.
But like, the way they wrote it,
It only works because it's a twist. It wouldn't have worked if you knew up front.
Oh, no.
Because
not
you
at
would
all.
have no sympathy for James.
Right, because
You
you were
wouldn't care
plotting through
about
this
him.
game of like, I don't care if this guy dies.
I want him to die.
Yeah.
I hope he dies now, actually.
He's a wife murderer. I don't care.
and I mean, like the other like unspoken thing here is like, the terminal disease thing is a hard conversation to have, right?
It is.
The,
It
like-
is. It's one of those. There's never a good answer for it, because one, the American healthcare system is fucked,
Yep.
and the thing she says about the hospital
making
getting good
profits.
money off of her is generally true. That's not
Yeah.
gonna be why they keep her alive,
Mhm.
but that is a thing that is very real. Especially when it comes to insurance and yada yada yada. So, like, it's one of those things that, like, there's no good solution, and assisted suicide is a good thing to have, but as we're seeing with Canadian systems, there are also big downsides to this. So, you know, it's just one of those things that's like, as humans, we should not be the ones deciding these things, but we have to.
Yeah.
So
I think overall the game handles all these very difficult things with a lot of gravitas, and it doesn't make a joke out of anything. It plays everything very seriously, and I think it works to its favor, because when you want to write about subjects like this, you know, it can come off as very cruel, and it can come off as very disgusting to like take these things lightheartedly.
Or just even tone deaf.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like
just
if
super.
like finding, because I would love to see, like you said, the main story writer, I believe, was a male.
I can't
Almost.
tell.
I couldn't say.
almost certainly in this era.
Almost.
I was going to say based on the era. I don't mean to be painting
No,
with
I
a
mean,
broad
it's
brush.
just, it's just true.
But the way that a male writer could handle something like female sexual assault, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
and do it in a thought, it would make you. I would be inclined to believe that there was some input from
Honestly,
from female writers.
that's the thing
in
I'm
the
most-
writers' room or something.
That's the thing
Hopefully.
I'm most scared about the remake is like how they actually, because you know they're gonna make it more dialogue intensive than the original is.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
totally are.
So-
They're not gonna pay voice actors to record, an hour's worth of lines.
Yeah. So I'm scared if they can handle it with the same weight that the original does. So
It's also 2001 Konami is such a different development team in terms of like talent of their and like quality of their output than Bloober Team in 2024.
even Konami in 2024. Let's
Even
be
in
honest
Konami.
with
I mean,
ourselves.
I would
Konami
say, like-
doesn't make video games.
Well,
They
Ma-
make Yu-Gi-Oh,
they
and they make
just like it's just like there's such a
slot machines.
there's such a difference in the
the landscape.
the talent and the landscape of these two people that I'm very afraid.
If
that,
Silent Hill 2 were to come out today, it would have to be an indie game.
Yeah.
I don't think this game in today's current landscape would be able to come out from a AAA
Like if it
studio.
were released for the first time.
If it were released for
Yeah,
the first
Gotcha.
time.
Okay.
The AAA studio would not
Oh,
release
no.
this game.
No.
It wouldn't happen.
it's so risky and so taboo.
All right, well, final thoughts, Silent Hill 2?
This
Probably
game-
watch it, not play it.
yeah.
If I had to guess.
Yeah, I think you can kind of just watch
If
the
you're
story beats.
if you're really interested in like the classic gameplay, totally go for it. But like, I think these specific kind of horror games are probably the things that suffer the least, most from like game age.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think other genres of games are a little bit more timeless in terms of actual gameplay than these games.
If you have not played this game, which all of our good listeners play the game before they listen to the podcast, if you haven't played this game, just know that this game is very good at making you feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It makes you feel
It
shitty.
is.
The puzzles make you feel shitty. The combat makes you feel shitty. The exploration makes you feel shitty. It's on purpose. It plays towards the tone of the game. But just know going in that you are going to feel terrible almost the entire time that you're playing it.
And if you're wearing headphones, get fucked.
Yeah.
Like
If you're trying to meet the game where it is at, you're going to feel pretty bad through nearly the entirety.
It is a slog, but a slog that is the most fun I think I've ever had.
Oh yeah, it's
If
a
I were
great
to
game.
describe the slogs I've had in my life, this one's at
Oh
the
yeah,
top.
this is a really fun slug.
I would definitely put this in the tier of like Fallout. There's a lot of similarities in that, like,
totally.
oh man, like the story and the world are incredible, but the gameplay has some like serious humps that I personally find very hard to get over.
All right, well, next time we're going to be talking about Eastward.
That's a
You can
let me guess, is that an indie game, an adventure indie game starring weird little guys?
There are actually no well, there are weird little guys, but they're not starring. They're not starring.
Okay, all right.
You can play it on Steam, Nintendo Switch, or Xbox. So those are your options.
Fuck me,
If you
man.
play PlayStation, that shit don't have no games on it. So
Damn it. PlayStation ain't got no
ain't no
games.
games.
Ain't got no
Ain't no
games.
games on the console. Bye, everybody.
Bye.